We don't need to look far. There are wars, people are dying, young people, old people. The world, our world, even our tiny little world that we created for ourselves, is in this array. People are meaner than usual. This is what happens when we decide to be independent of our creator. Okay, so the question is, how do we show up as our best selves without pretending everything is fine? And my answer is that we guard our hearts and we love one another. Who are we? What are our core values? Our core values are those moral compass, right, that we go to in times of this to make sure that we are living from the inside out. Who are we? In this group, we are kind, forgiving, compassionate, and we grow. So that's who we are. We guard those, meaning we don't let what is outside affect what or who we are on the inside. We still show up being kind, forgiving, compassionate, and we grow. Now, growth is so important. Growth is so important. Sometimes we are disciplined in certain areas and not in others. We have to grow. Personal development is the foundation of a person and of a organization. Personal development. But before we develop personally, we need to know who we are. The gifts or the strengths, the natural abilities or personality or passions. Remember, we were at passions. All right? And so, and knowing our core values, that's who we are. Everything and our experience, everything come together. And how do we love others? We bring everything, all of that, and we serve it. All right? Regardless of what is happening. We have to take care of ourselves. Rest. We know ourselves. We know what causes us to falter. So we pay attention to these things. If we know we'll overwork, pay attention. Rest. Okay? If we know we suffer with exhaustion and all those things, exhaustion is not always overworking. Exhaustion is sometimes carrying an old assignment into a new season. So we have to be careful, or we start a new assignment in a season when we weren't supposed to begin. We have to know who we are in every season. Times and seasons. There's a time and a place for everything. We have to know what is needed for the particular season. And that's one of the reasons we fast sometimes, for direction, for guidance, to know what are we supposed to accomplish in this season? You have the passion. Passion is a strong feeling or emotion towards something. It is a deep love you have for something. Passion motivates you, energizes you, renews you, and fortifies you. Miles Monroe says, passion is a desire that is greater than opposition and stronger than death. Do you have such thing? Passion keeps you going when it seems all else is failing. When you live out your dream with passion, it doesn't die when you die. It lives on. You know you're passionate about something when you think about it all the time. I have to train my mind not to think about some things. When you would rather read research articles than hang out with your friends. So this, again, remember, I'm reading from the book. This is the PhD experience, right? When you sit in your tiny apartment trying to figure out what the results of an experiment means instead of watching TV. I mean, I'm not doing experiments like that anymore, but I'm still not watching TV. When you would rather write than go on vacation. I remember when I was doing my PhD and some of our relatives were going on cruises and all these things. And you know what? I didn't miss it. I just knew that that was not the season for such things. Like I said, we got to know our season. And not because other people are doing it doesn't mean you're supposed to do it. We should not compare ourselves. All right? And doing it all with a genuine smile for minimal pay. No, that is passion. These were just some of my scenarios during that time in my life. Picture your own context. I was passionate about being a scientist so I can help to make people's life better. Well, guess what? I am still a scientist. I'm just on the other side, like a psychologist, right? Um, and I'm still trying to help people's life become better. I didn't always know how I wanted to make lives better, but I always knew I wanted to be a scientist. So they're different. When I was in Jamaica, when I hear the word scientist, the only thing that came to mind was, test tubes and beakers and Bunsen burners. But a psychologist is also called a scientist. A sociologist is also called a scientist. You have political science. You have, social sciences. You have all sorts of sciences. I call those soft sciences. I remember while I was doing my PhD, there was a guy from my church who was doing sociology and his PhD in sociology, right? And I used to make joke all the time, because he was always in the library. We were always like just exchanging notes or ideas about things. And I I always told I would tell him that I'll be in the lab even on holidays and whatnot. And he's like, that's awful. I say it's just a time, it's just for a period, right? He was doing his PhD for like 6 or 7 years. I'm like, no, absolutely not. I don't have that time. Right? So when we both finished at the same time, but he took longer, and he was at a different university as well. But um, I was just thinking, I used to make the joke all the time that that's what happened when you do those kind of science. That's not real science. I used to say, that's what happened when you don't do real science. Like, there's no set time to do anything, right? Um, It's just relative. But here I am doing pretty much what he was doing, but the practical part of it. Okay? So, um, don't judge other people. Don't judge other people. All right. So, looking back, had I known who I truly was, I would have made more strategic decisions during my studies and started strong afterward. At least that was what I thought. But God knew all along. He wanted me to trust Him even when I did not know what I was doing. Understand that you may not get the full answers when you seek them, but you will get what you need for that season. Just do it. Otherwise, you may get stuck trying to figure out all the details. Let's just get something out of the way here. When I speak about passion, it's not just any passion. Your passion should not go against the truth and knowledge of God. The passion I speak of drives you to fulfill the God given dream He gave you. Okay? So we got to have passion because there will be days when we don't feel like it, when things are happening in our lives, death, sickness, whatever, right? And we don't feel like it. Remember, feelings come and go. We have to know. We have to know who we are, what we're doing, and do it. That's it. We gotta know, take breaks. If you're feeling tired, take breaks. But we still have to do it. Or we delegate. So that's another thing. To develop others to do what you do. Right? Okay. That is our word for today. Remember, guard your heart and love one another.